let's get to the report card now, as which Joe Milton, we talked about last week. In the end, has Josh Heupel done a good job with his coaching of quarterbacks? And you can't argue against it. Your thoughts. But I'm going to go ahead and give something away. Joe Milton's going to get an A. It's brought to you in part by AndyMasonRealEstate.com. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Over 40 years in the real estate business there in Knoxville. And the great part about Andy Mason is that he has the best service and the prices in the biz. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. All right, let's start with Joe Milton. Gets an A. Got no argument with that. Again,
no, the quarterbacks as a whole get an A.
Oh, quarterbacks as a whole. Okay. Well, quarterbacks as a whole get an A. I got no argument with that. Again, I do have to factor in the opponent a little bit, but yeah, A, no problem.
Yeah. I mean, Joe Milton gets an A. Nico Iamaleava came in, looked really good. He gets an A. Navy Schuler completed his only attempt. And Gaston Morse and Dave's favorite quarterback, Gaston Morse, saw some good action. So they all played well.
It's not my favorite quarterback. It's becoming a thing for those that just listen for a second.
Dave Moore is his name. Dave wants to marry Gaston Moore. How does Shonda feel about that, Dave?
She's scared. Running backs get an A+. That you start off with an 82-yard touchdown run on the game's second drive. You establish that you have control of the football field quite easily. Wide receivers, A+. Will anybody on the offensive board not get an A? Stop me if you want to grab onto one of these. Tight ends, A+ as well. Our guy Jacob Warren, who will be on the Vol report, we decided to push him back just a little bit. He'll get a better look at Missouri as opposed to looking back on a game that Tennessee was going to win easily. So we'll have the Vol report with Jacob and Cooper coming up later in the week, which makes me remind you to hit that like and subscribe button. Offensive line, A-. Why A-?
Outside of that 82-yard run, there weren't as many big runs there that the offensive line opened up holes for, and they did give up a sack. So because of that, you got to do A-. So, but They still played well enough.
No doubt. Defensive tackles, A. Edge rushers, A+. It just feels like they can flip any game. And I mean, Georgia included, that Tennessee's edge rushers and to some extent their interior defensive line, because they do get a push. It just feels like those four can win one game on their own. And maybe they have already, but they can win one game on their own at some point this season.
Yes, and I want to address this because people are going to question it because Tennessee didn't get a lot of I think they only got one sack in the game. But anybody who knows ball knows that depending on the scheme you're facing, you can't judge edge rushers by sacks. And UConn, again, runs the West Coast offense, Dave. You know as well as I do. The West Coast offense is about getting rid of the ball as quickly as possible on short hitch routes. You're not going to get a lot of sacks when you're facing a team that runs the West Coast offense. You just won't. And so they still found ways to make plays. Tyler Barron alone is why the edge rushers get an A+ and how he played on Saturday.
Well, and remember this too, that in the West Coast offense, you'll run a lot of running backs over in the slant. So there's probably times when some of those edge rushers have outside pass coverage responsibility as well. The Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety of great selection and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best CBD or Delta products. They've got the Big Orange Crunch. It is Hemp House Chat with 2 T's, Hemp House Chat with 2T's.com. Use the promo code HOOKED and you will get 10% off. All right, the rest of the report card as we go down. Caleb, where are we now? If you want to take over for me because my screen's not pulling up. Yes. Okay, we have linebackers A-, secondary B+.
Yes, linebackers A-. Aaron Beasley's pick 6 pushed him into an A- because they were about in the B+ range. And the reason was they stopped the run well. But again, UConn was able to move the ball with this offense through the air, and they picked Tennessee a little bit apart on a few drives. And that's the reason the secondary is a B+. Jalen McCullough's pick 6 and Jalen McCullough playing well actually throughout the game at safety was fine. Jeudy-Lally did force a fumble, but largely the cornerbacks gave up a lot of yards to the receivers. Now, maybe that was by design, but they did let Taquan Roberson work them down the field a few times.
Okay, now let me ask you this. We give the torchbearer awards. Who wins the awards on this Monday? And if you had to pick one, who is the ultimate torchbearer award?
Before I get there, I just want to mention kicking game A, return game B. But yeah, okay.
Oh, and actually, before we get there too, or it can be part of it. Who are your torchbearers, first of all?
Okay, so my 5 torchbearers. And by the way, I had to do torchbearers and I had to do some shout outs because I only do 5 each week. So number 5 was Nico Iamaleava. Came in, everybody was waiting for him to see how he would perform. I mean, that is a little bit of pressure when like everybody's waiting to see what you'll look like. You know what I mean? And he looked very
Okay.
comfortable through a touchdown pass. I'm gonna
You're trying to start trouble. I know what you're doing. Go ahead.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Number 4, Jalen McCullough had a pick 6. I didn't have Gabe Jeudy-lally in there despite forcing a turnover, the other secondary player, because again, I thought the cornerbacks gave up too many yards. So between Jeudy-lally and McCullough got the nod. Number 3, Jalen Wright. I don't think that needs any explanation at all.
No.
Number 2, Joe Milton. So before you sit there and say I was starting stuff, I had Nico at 5. I did have Milton at 2. So both quarterbacks are torchbearers in this one. And then number 1, and this is, before I get there, I want to say I also left Aaron Beasley off, even though he had a pick 6, because I just felt that there weren't a lot of plays the linebackers made in pass coverage, so I couldn't give any of them a torchbearer for this one. But number 1, the easy player of the game was Tyler Barron. Tyler Barron was insanely good on Saturday against UConn.
Okay, so how can I best set this up? Who was the top ball torchbearer beside Tyler Barron? Do you want me to do that if you think he's easily number 1? Because we only have 4 options. I'll be honest with you. We have technological restrictions, Caleb.
No, unless you want to put Nico in there for fun, but like I think I don't know. I say Tyler Barron. Are there enough ball guys who vote on these things that would give it to a defensive end, Dave?
We've got a smart audience. That's the scary thing. So I don't really know, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put it together right now, start a poll, and we will do this as who was the top ball torchbearer beside Tyler Barron? And I'm going to go Nico, number 1. I'm going Joe, number 2. And then who do you want me to put on there? Let's get you in trouble. This is by Caleb Calhoun.
Jalen Wright.
Jalen Wright.
McCullough. And Jalen McCullough.
All right, Jalen Wright and Jalen McCullough. All right, it'll be up there here in just momentarily. Go to our YouTube channel. We'd love for you to vote. We've got some Spencer Riley coming up next, which you know we always love. And so who would you give it to? Who was number 2 on your list besides you said you had Tyler Barron number 1. Who would be number 2?
Number 2 would be Joe Milton. Joe Milton did everything right in this game. I mean, now again, the throws were so easy. I mean, it was like isn't it baffling, Dave, how 3 years into Heupel's system and receivers still get schemed wide open at times the way they do?
Yeah, but wasn't that I mean, that against a UConn is a little bit more of an athlete thing, right?
Not in that one. That was a complete busted coverage again, because Heupel schemes open busted coverages all the time.
No, I agree. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. In general, though, isn't it?
The Squirrel White one was an athlete one, because Squirrel White just outran the whole secondary after he caught the pass. Still doesn't rival Jason Witten outrunning an entire secondary in the Citrus Bowl in 2001. But
right, and I don't care if you're from the Big Ten or not. That's embarrassing. Okay, so who was the top ball torchbearer besides Tyler Barron? You want me to go Nico, Joe Milton, and Jalen McCullough, right?
Jalen. Oh wait, you only have 4 options, don't you?
Yeah, I just have 4. So I'm giving you Tyler Barron.
All right, so. Well, outside of Tyler Barron. So, okay, yeah, Joe Milton, Jalen Wright, Nico, and Jalen McCullough. Those 4.